A lot of guys that I speak to get burnt out, especially business owners, is they don't realize that they're no longer creating. They're working, which is great. That's what we do, but that's not overly fulfilling. People don't work because they enjoy the work. They work because it's a means, but the reason that we do what we do is because we love to create. And I think we forget that a lot more than we probably should. Your stakeholders, your clients, the multitude of people that rely on you, the only reason that they have the life that they have to a degree is because of the sacrifices and the eagerness for you to push yourself and create something. And same with any man in that respect. Doesn't have to be an entrepreneur, any man. But what they forget is the only reason any of those things exist is because of them. And every single day that we're alive, we're dying.
A mate of mine was like looking really good in shape. He started his business in the construction industry, but from a trade base. And I saw him one day, I'm like, man, you look fantastic. I feel fantastic. This engine's all firing, all the rest of it. And instinctively I said, whoever got you in shape, give me his number. And then the first conversation we had was, what would be the top thing that business owners are searching for that they want to know? Like, for example, here's an example. This is what I wrote for Cornet. It's like everyone tells you to work on the business, not in it. But when you're in production every single day, is creative space as a business owner actually achievable? So more so on our topic is like, it might be like, oh, we all work on the business as business owners and we get to a point where we're burnt out. We're not happy regardless of the bank balance and everything else in that. It's like, is there a true point where balance can be achieved when you're happy in all aspects of your life? You know, so that's what I want to kick off, something along those lines.
Yeah, dude. Look, I think there really is, but I think the definition or the classification of balance and everything that we do as business owners is important to know first, because then it's easier to understand whether where the kind of problem is if you don't feel as good as you should. So you said it at the start, the first part of the question when you were speaking with Cornet before was, can business owners differentiate between just doing the work and doing those kind of things and going to work every day and doing that versus creating space for creativity? And I think it's important to understand why we actually got into business in the first place, because we didn't get into business to do things. We originally, at the true crux of any foundation and futures, right? The true crux of that was we wanted to create something, a reality that didn't exist for us before. And so that was what actually set our souls on fire, to be able to pursue something long enough for it to be anything worthwhile that we have in our lives now. We didn't sign up to do, we signed up to create. But along the way, after that first foundation, after that first kind of creation was built, we often get stuck in the doing because it worked. Holy shit. Now I've got to do things every day. And that separation between what you actually signed up for, what it was that attracted you to business and entrepreneurship and everything that we're doing in our lives, was the actual creation, the freedom to create. And similar to what you were saying with Cornet, was actually having the space to create. They're totally different versions of ourselves. And being able to create that space, I'm sure you would recognize a totally different Tim sitting with me in this room than the Tim that is on calls and meetings and speaking with clients and team every single day. Very different, right?
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's I think it's interesting where a lot of guys that I speak to get burnt out and things like that, especially business owners, is they don't realize that they're no longer creating. They're working, which is great. That's what we do, but that's not overly fulfilling. People don't work because they enjoy the work. They work because it's a means, but the reason that we do what we do is because we love to create. And I think we forget that a lot more than we probably should. If you don't feel as good as you do and you want to in your business, you can get into the physical factors and the life factors and things like that. But at the true crux is like, when was the last time you actually had space to create? And are you doing that enough to fill your cup for you to keep going and pursuing one of the hardest things you can do in your life, which is entrepreneurship?
So I have a question before we dive into all of that. Who is Brodie and why are you doing this? What is Apex all about? You know, we met a year or close to 2 years now, a year and a half
Nearly
ago.
two, yeah, nearly two.
And we can dive into like my experience with you so far, but more importantly, like, what has really driven you to create Apex, and what is your experience prior to doing this, and why are you so passionate about it?
The reason Apex exists now, so Apex is a health coaching company for men over the age of 30 who have prioritized their work, their family, their business, and the pursuit of excellence and greatness in their life ahead of themselves. And it's a very noble cause to do that. It's a very innate drive that we have as men to provide and to succeed and to thrive so that the people around us can have an easier life. It's almost ingrained in our DNA and our biology as men. And what a lot of men often forget, especially over the age of 30, and the reason 30 is because that's where you kind of have that oh shit moment. And the oh shit moment that happens with men over 30 is, all right, no one really is coming to save me anymore, right? Like life is moving. There's things that I really want. There's things that I will no longer settle for. And you start to have this abstract kind of 30,000 foot view of who you are and what you're actually going to do here for the rest of your life. And for most men at that age and beyond 40, 50 and onwards, they just start doing like what we just said. We start working, we start providing, we start applying ourselves to be able to provide for those things. But there's this really critical component of a man's life and his psyche and who he is that often gets forgotten. And that is the only reason that their family, your family, Tim, right? The only reason your staff, the only reason your stakeholders, your clients, the people, the multitude of people that rely on you, the only reason that they have the life that they have to a degree is because of the sacrifices and the eagerness for you to push yourself and create something, right? And same with any man in that respect. Doesn't have to be an entrepreneur, any man. But what they forget is the only reason any of those things exist is because of them. And every single day that we're alive, we're dying. So things are getting one day, inch by inch, a little bit harder than it was the previous day. And if we don't look after ourselves as men, then we're no longer able to provide, strive, push, and look after the people that we love most and create the things that we want to in our life. And I think for most men, they have this moment, it might be 30, it might be 40, it might be 50 or onwards, where they go, damn, dude, like I'm beat up, I'm wrecked, I'm tired, I'm agitated, right? And all of those things, they don't actually reconcile any of it because guess what? Got to go to work tomorrow, got to keep doing, got to keep working, got to keep pushing. And so there really is nothing left over in the tank for a man to look after himself. And so what happens is if a man can't look after himself, that lack of awareness, that lack of providing for them spills into every other area of their life. So they show up a little bit more agitated at home. They start arguing with their wife or their spouse because they don't feel seen, heard, or appreciated because all they do is work. They don't have the energy for their kids. Their kids are young. They want to run around with dad when he gets home, but he's just done a 10, 12-hour day. And it's hard to do that every single day. And so they're not getting the best of him anyway. So he's a little bit agitated with the kids. He doesn't have any time for his friends anymore because all he does is work and provide. And it sounds like a broken record, right? But we can see the story.
Yeah. Yeah. See the pattern.
You can see the pattern, right?
Yeah.
And so the interesting thing is when a man looks after himself selfishly, that is the most important thing that he should do to be able to continue looking after the people that he cares about most. And the reason my company exists, in a really long-winded answer, is because those men have forgotten how to look after themselves. They don't understand that it's actually possible for them with the 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years of programming that they have of this is how I need to live my life. There is no time for Tim, for Brodie. I couldn't possibly fit a workout in. I couldn't possibly spend money on myself to go and get a coach or invest in better quality food. I couldn't even fathom going to get my blood work done and seeing where my hormones are, which are one of the most important aspects of a man's ability to focus and have energy. Couldn't do any of that because there's bills to pay. The kids need braces. The wife, she's at home with the kids all day. I should probably spend more money on her, spend more time on her. But it's this abstract chicken before the egg process where it's like the outcome that they're looking for is to live a beautiful, happy life with the people they care about. But if they don't look after their body and their mind, there is no amount of work, there is no amount of preservation, there is no amount of effort that will ever, ever, ever create the reality that they're dreaming of, except that. And again, the reason that I exist and my company does what it does is to help those men who have put everything ahead of themselves, who now realize if they don't do something, then they're going to lose everything they care about most.
On that point, is that I think sometimes too, when business owners push and we create a business, when you build, especially the first 3, 4, 5 years of business, it's generally like you're in your early 30s that you're at that point. If you go in to start a business in your mid 20s, late 20s, sometimes earlier. But I remember getting to a point where I resented the business that I created because I was working for payroll and it wasn't creating, like when you don't have cash flow, you have no creativity.
Yeah,
you're worried about payroll.
No
you're worried about will bills get paid? And lots of business owners in all sectors have gone through this, specifically in the last 6 years, I reckon. at a very amplified rate.
Mm,
And to come from a place where you resent your business because it's not what you thought it would be, because you also have no time for yourself and your health is taken a back seat because you just, if I do more, the result will be better.
mm. I'll just push harder.
I'll just push harder.
Yeah.
Force versus friction. We've spoken about
Mm,
this. Like, do I just force more or do I reduce friction in other areas of my life so that it can be amplified?
mm.
What's your message to someone who resents their business right now? And why do they not feel fulfilled if they, say, reach their revenue point or their net profit point that they thought would make them happy? And then they reach that point and it's still the same, or that wasn't the actual solution I was looking for.
This is such a deep question, dude. And I have so many different views and different kind of ideas around it. But if I was to answer as succinctly as what I personally think and what I'm learning right now in my life is the reason that if a business owner is not satisfied or fulfilled with what they've achieved or where their business is or where their life is right now is because what they created was not what they truly wanted. And what I mean by that is from the moment that we're born, right, the moment we take our first breath, ideas and ideologies and a way of living is shunned upon us, right? We're told not to cry, right? Shh, don't scream, all these kind of things. All the way up until we're adults, right? Society and life has almost contained or almost ushered you to think, behave, and live a certain way. And where I'm going with this is most business owners aren't truly satisfied in who they are or what they're building because what they're building isn't what they truly want. That desire was borrowed. It was a mimetic desire. Have you heard that term before?
No, I haven't.
Mimetic desire is essentially a philosophical term where what you want in life is not what you really want. It was an idea that was planted within you from somewhere or someone else. And we often don't stop to actually reconcile is what I'm striving for, what I'm creating and what I'm doing right now. Is it really, really what I want? I would go as far to say that 90% of the population would otherwise say, no, it's not at the true core of what it is. They might like making money. They might like the pursuit of greatness, the ability to perform and get that feedback loop that what they're doing is good. But what they're actually doing and how they're living and all of those kind of things, more often than not, aren't totally congruent with who they truly are at their core, because we never ask those deeper questions of what I truly want. What do I want? Why do I want that? What would it mean to me if I actually did or didn't achieve that? And mimetic desire is essentially, let me ask you, dude, let's try and do a bit of an exercise here. In one sentence, what do you want to build with Kai Construct? What is the goal?
Initially, it's obviously to have choice,
Mm.
legacy,
Mm-hmm.
freedom.
Mm-hmm.
Probably the top three of every business owner.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, it was like create a business that I enjoy, like creating something from nothing.
Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. Why? Why do you want to create that? Why does that matter?
It's interesting you ask because sometimes, like, I don't know. Like, do I see something when I was a kid or a teenager, like looking at other business owners just build something from scratch and just create this, I guess, this lifestyle for their family?
Mm.
I remember distinctly, actually, in university before I started my apprenticeship, there was a guy there who was, from quite a well-established family. And I remember going home back to his place for a barbecue. Like, he invited a few of us round, and his dad was a developer.
Mm.
Like, this is like early on, like 2006, 2007. And I come into his house and it's like on a massive acreage property. He's got the Porsche, he's got the Lambo, he's got all of it. This is actually very interesting to ask him because I'm just thinking about this.
Bro, you're going there. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 And I was just like thinking of like has big library, and he was the nicest gentleman you would ever meet.
Mm.
Him and his wife got on really well because as you're younger, you're like I
Oh,
was really observant.
Yeah.
So I'm like looking at this guy and I'm like, he's got the house, he's got the cars, his son's a legend, like well-rounded, level-headed. He's
Mm.
got the marriage.
Mm.
And it's easy to probably comment going, oh, well, you've just seen a snippet of his life. But I like went through uni with this guy for over a 2-3 year period, and everything stayed the same. And interesting, I asked him, I said, like, how do you, like, what do you do? He's like, I develop land. I'm like, okay, well, chick, that's one area I'm going to go down in the future. But second, like, how do you do it? And he looked at me and he's like, what do you mean? Isn't this what everyone like, his definition was like he created this and that was his normal
That was it. That was
motor
yeah.
apparatus. Like, this is just my life.
Mm.
And then over the time of building, like for different clients in Kai Constructs, Medico, sports professionals, things like that, I noticed that whenever someone worked hard and they didn't have as much financial pressure, they had more choice or they had more time, and they were just more well-rounded and generally really nice people. Whereas every single person that was under pressure, having to make payroll, having to go to work, I could tell they weren't present. Even if we were building their dream home, they were still like, "All right, thanks, got to go. Like, I'll see you in a couple of weeks." And the flip side of other clients, like say Mr. Developer side, or that person that's worked through and they've got time, is like they enjoyed the process. They were involved. They'd buy the whole entire team pizzas and have lunch with us while we build their dream home. Like, and as we're just talking about this, I'm just realizing and noticing there's two different very types of people. And then you're like, well, what do I want? I want to be that person that has the time, that has the freedom, that doesn't have the financial pressure, that the business can provide for those areas. And I enjoy running what I'm doing. If you ask me, take away all the money and all of that, would I still build? Yeah. Like, to look at something and go, we can make something cool here and impact someone else's life or provide an opportunity for someone else. Build my own family's home, high on the agenda this year. It's like, well, I would thoroughly enjoy that. Do I not like working in building? Building industry, and any builder that's listening to this, we all know it's like no factor is in your control.
It's hard.
You're the conductor of a circus, and it's not Cirque du Soleil that's organized and everyone's on. It's like the circus in construction. It can feel like that sometimes. I'm blessed with a very good team, but that's what I want. But there has been periods in time of business where there's no creativity because you're focused on providing cash flow to grow the business. Because growing a business is very cash hungry, and we've spoken about this.
So you mentioned a bunch of different layers there, which is awesome, right? So like, if you were to kind of think about it, the first time, if that was the time, right, where you saw this guy's life, that planted a seed in your mind that is who I need to be because of those things. He has the material gains. He has a beautiful son. Him and his wife get along incredibly well. And the person that he is someone that you are fond of. You would aspire to be like. That is a mimetic desire. That was borrowed. That wasn't proliferated within you. You didn't wake up one day without seeing that, without seeing any propaganda, no magazines, no TV, no dude with money on there. Like, why do people even want Lambos? It's just a car. But someone that they saw had a big, beautiful body, a big, beautiful house. He was demanding more respect than somebody else. And that was planted in us, in all of us, in some respect, that is worthwhile pursuing. Now, the difference is although that desire was borrowed, it's not a terrible thing, right? It's not a terrible thing. It gave us a direction, right? And whether we choose that direction or not, that's where it comes down to the congruency piece is, do I actually want that? And you clearly did because you went for it. But as we kind of grow a little bit older now, and as you approach, what are you, 40 now? So it's different to 30. Yeah. Right? And what you wanted at 30 and what you were willing to do at 30 is very different to 40 and 50. And so the interesting part is, if we were to stop for a moment and actually think about who you are now versus who you were 10 years ago, that version of yourself now is now starting to reconcile, well, although you love building, which is great, right? You said that you would do it, take the money away, take all that kind of stuff. That's wonderful. But it's not just the vehicle that's the most important thing. It's what the vehicle creates. The time, the choice, the freedom. But all of those things are for a reason as well. Why do they matter? Well, because you like being kind. You like being present. You like being generous. You like being able to provide and support all of those things. And the business that you created creates the time, the freedom, the capacity to be a kind person, a loving person, a connected person. And so what the vehicle that a lot of business owners, I know